Kia ora, good evening. The Police Prevention First strategy is proving a winner in the Southern Policing District with a further reduction in reported crime over the last year.
In the year until 30 June, there was a 5% drop in crime in Southland compared to a 3.2% drop nationally. Southland saw a 54% resolution rate. Southland Area Commander Inspector Lane Todd says in the 2010 financial year, Southland had 9,333 reported offences. This year's 7,038 marks a 28% drop in 4 years. There has been a 25% increase in burglary offences. This increase is believed to be a reflection of changed recording practices since the full implementation of the National Recording Standard under the crime reporting line during 2013, which effectively meant the formation of a new baseline for recorded burglary.
And we'll have more Southern crime statistics with Inspector Lane Todd in tomorrow's bulletin. The national trend for the number of new dwellings, including apartments, has more than doubled since the new series low in March 2011. However, the rate of growth is slowing. The trend is at its highest level since August 2007, but is still 25% below the series peak in January 2004. In August 2014, building consents were issued for 2,022 dwellings, including apartments, retirement village units and non-apartment dwellings. Combined consents were valued at almost $1.2 billion. The seasonally adjusted number of new dwellings consented, including apartments, was unchanged from July. The unadjusted value of building work consented in August 2014 was almost $1.190 million. In Southland, 21 building consents were issued for August with a value of $7 million for residential and non-residential building work. The figures are courtesy of Statistics New Zealand. In the last census, 17% of Southlanders identified as smokers. That's higher than the national average. And this month there's a target to help 300 Southern smokers quit the habit. Stoptober is a national 31-day stop smoking challenge that offers electronic support via text, as well as counselling and stop smoking medicines for free locally. The move comes after research shows smokers are 5 times more likely to have a successful quit attempt with the right support.
What we've done is another way to get more people on board is we've sent emails and letters to employers to help the workforce to become smoke-free. And so we've had a lot of people jump on board with us, especially the pharmacies in Southland. So we have some really good pharmacies that are on board with Stoptober and will help to talk you through the type of stop smoking medicine that's suited for you.
I understand another workplace in town has there's some smokers but some non-smokers. The non-smokers are joining in to do something for the month of October as well.
Yeah, well, a really good way to support people that are trying to stop smoking is for people that don't smoke anyway, is to support them by giving up something for the month as well. And what we know is that a very supportive place in Invercargill is trying to support their people trying to stop smoking by giving up other things, and they've given up chocolate for the month. So, you know, there's a lot of things that people that don't smoke can do to help people that are trying to give up as well. The biggest target for Stoptober are Māori and Pacific Island people, and everybody else in between 18 and 52. They're our specific targets.
When people get through the 31-day challenge, what is the likelihood that they will stop smoking at that point?
Well, you're 5 times more likely to be smoke-free for good if you make it through this month. So, you know, the message is hang in there because you can do it. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Use some stop smoking medicine. Use some patches, gum and lozenge. If you've used them before and you haven't been successful, there are, the next line of stop smoking medicines, your Champix and your Zybans, but you have to see your doctor for those. They're prescription-only medicines. But, 5 times more likely, it's a big incentive to make it through Stoptober.
It was an early start this morning as staff and students at the Southern Institute of Technology marked China's National Day. There are now 300 full-time students from China studying at the Institute, with that number set to increase in coming years. SIT Chief Executive Penny Simmons says it's important to mark the occasion of China's National Day.
their 65-year celebration of their National Day, and yes, we do have a large population of Chinese students, but also a number of Chinese people who have been in Southland for over 100 years, so it's lovely that we're seeing that resurgence of Chinese people coming to Southland.
And we're seeing new students coming in actually from Hubei.
Yes, we are. We're seeing our first group from Hubei University that we have a partnership agreement with. They've studied for 3 years at Hubei University and now coming here for their last year, so that's really exciting. That's the first year we've had that.
You mentioned 17 years since your first trip to China and how things have changed. What did you mean by that? What has changed there, do you think?
Oh, it's just so much more open now than when I first went 17 years ago. These young people have so many more opportunities.
Free to travel.
Absolutely, absolutely. That freedom to get out and travel, and it's really becoming the norm, whereas it was quite an unusual thing back then.
To mark the International Day of the Older Person, the Invercargill City Council distributed a checklist designed to help the City Council's older tenants with important day-to-day tasks. Housing Support Officer Deborah Little was today aiming to visit most of the city's 215 senior housing units.
Well, what we decided to do, one of our residents here at Astonley asked us if we make up a checklist just to remind the tenants to, do the regular things to keep them safe. And what we decided we'd do is make the checklist and also a key ring that they can put on their fridge, and that will remind them to do those little things. And since it was the International Day of the Older Persons, we thought we would launch and deliver them on that day. And so that's what I'm aiming to do, is to get round as many of our complexes today.
Yes, there are a few, aren't there?
There are, yes. In Invercargill we have 18 complexes and there's 3 in Bluff. So we have in total 215 units around Invercargill and Bluff area, so it is quite a lot.
The council is a very good provider, I've heard, very cost-effective provider of rental property. It is a good thing. It's an obligation, isn't it, to really provide that housing?
Well, we have provided the housing for quite a long time, so it's something that's been ongoing with the council and will continue to be, because we have a good variety of units. We basically have variety from bedsits through to single bedrooms. We don't offer any larger than 1 bedroom units, but it certainly fills the need for the older folk that are usually on their own, and it's a very good facility for them, and just takes the pressure off for them, which is great. They can come to a place in a complex environment is really nice as well, because they all support each other.
After the break, City Council Chief Executive Richard King on current and past council property purchases in the centre city. Welcome back. On Monday, the City Council confirmed that it had paid an undisclosed sum for the William Todd buildings straddling Don and Spey Streets. This is the second property purchase in a month after Council brought the former Southland Times buildings on Esk Street, both purchases destined to become car parks. Hunter Andrews asked Council Chief Executive Richard King about the latest property acquisitions and other council property interests around the central city area.
We recognise the need for car parks. Under the new district plan, what that means is that property owners can develop 100% of their site, and it's the responsibility of the council to provide the car parking. So clearly car parking is a key to retailing success, so we've got to have the car parks.
Is this sort of an admission that sale a couple of years ago, or more than a couple now, of that Don Street Park may have been a bit soon or ill-advised?
Possibly. We've got a lot of criticism over that and selling it, but the objective of
it still is undeveloped as we speak.
Yes, but I understand it will be developed soon. The purpose of selling it was to try and keep the inner city together. And people have a choice when they redevelop. A lot of them like to go to greenfield sites, and that could be well away from the city centre. So to keep critical mass, we need them in the city. And so we sold the Don Street car park for office accommodation to try and keep the nucleus in the city. And therefore...
So that's a policy?
Well, yes. Well, that was an objective more than anything, and it's still an objective. We've got to have that critical mass. So that's the reason that we also bought the the car park across the way, which is formerly owned by the Southland Times. And clearly the Todd site is key because it's basically only a block away from the heart of S Street and extremely convenient with the walk-through.
Other council property in the city, there's a lot that the council own around that Lower S Street library sort of block. What's
Yes.
the intention there? That they look to be empty.
Yes, they are empty. That was another strategic purchase by the council, but we've made no decision on that. Hopefully in the future we might see some joint venture, perhaps.
You're talking about some sort of amalgamation of district and city on that site.
Well, what we did, we looked at initially at purchasing that site. We thought perhaps we should have, say, one local government house, call it that, where we could have perhaps the regional council, the Southland district and the city all in one building. Obviously there'd be cost savings there, and we thought that would be part of the shared service concept that we've been developing over the last 10 to 15 years. Now at the moment that hasn't come off, but we won't discount that as a possibility for the future. Alternatively, it could be a development and association, some other organisation in the city.
This isn't the ILT hotel scheme, is it? Are we
Well, look-
hearing some sort of confirmation that something may happen?
Oh, well, look, we've yet to have discussions about that, but we just can't close our minds to any possibility.
Also, other property purchases, is this the end we'll see for a while, or are you looking at other properties?
We're always looking for other properties. We have an endowment fund and we're required to reinvest that endowment fund in property because that's the purpose of the fund, rather than having...
What are those funds?
They're endowment funds that basically the government, they were gifted to the city probably 100 years ago, and the intent was to earn income for the city. Now we're free to sell them, but we have to reinvest in a purpose, in an original purpose. To earn an economic return. Now you can have the funds sitting in the bank at 4% or whatever, or you can get an 8.5% return. So that's the intent of those funds.
So there could well be more purchases.
There could be, but at the moment there's a lot of uncertainty over as to what the government is going to be doing with this earthquake legislation. We still don't know. That's been delayed, and we won't have a decision on that till next year. So obviously we'll try and work in with property developers, owners, as to what's the best for the city.
Little feet and hands were once again kept busy at Sports Southland on day 3 of their holiday program. For the school holidays, the Velodrome has been the venue for 5 to 8-year-olds to play softball, uni hock and gymnastics with the Move Improve sessions, while older kids up to 12 are off-site with jazz and orienteering. Organisers made use of the Velodrome with a bike challenge day on Monday, and there are several new sports this week, including target shooting, snag golf and bowls. Around 175 individuals are attending sessions this week, while next week Sports Southland takes the program to Winton, Te Anau and Riverton. And that's it from us. Next on Sport, post-match reaction following Southland's narrow win over Canterbury at last weekend's ITM Cup match. From the news team, good night.